Hey everyone, I'm Kyle, and I'm here to share a part of my life that feels both like a distant memory and a constant shadow. My story isn't unique, but it's mine, and maybe by sharing it, I can find some solace or perhaps help someone else find theirs. It all started with a phone call that changed my life forever. I was at college, midway through my sophomore year, studying engineering. The call was from a family friend, and the words he spoke were like a punch to the gut. There had been a car accident. My family, my mom, dad, and younger sister, were gone. Just like that. It felt unreal, like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. The weeks that followed were a blur of funerals, condolences, and an overwhelming sense of emptiness. I tried to go back to my life, to find normalcy in the routine of classes and assignments, but the void left by my family's absence was too vast. I couldn't focus, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. It felt like I was drowning in a sea of grief, and no matter how hard I paddled, I couldn't keep my head above water. In my darkest moments, I made a decision that would alter the course of my life. I dropped out of college and enlisted in the Marines. I didn't do it out of a sense of patriotism or a lifelong desire to serve. It was simpler than that, and perhaps more selfish. I needed purpose, direction, something to fill the void, and maybe, just maybe, I wanted to escape the pain. Boot camp was brutal, both physically and mentally, but it was also a distraction, a way to channel my grief and anger into something tangible. I made it through, and before I knew it, I was being deployed to Iraq. It was a whole new world, one filled with danger, camaraderie, and a constant adrenaline rush. Life in a war zone is difficult to describe. It's a mix of long, monotonous days filled with grueling heat, punctuated by moments of sheer terror. You form bonds with your fellow soldiers, bonds forged in the crucible of shared experience. You learn to rely on each other, to watch each other's backs, and to find humor in the darkest of places. I won't go into the details of the battles or the close calls. Those memories are etched in my mind, vivid and raw, but they're not the point of the story. What I want to talk about is the aftermath, the return to civilian life. Coming home was harder than I anticipated. I thought I'd find relief in leaving the battlefield behind, but instead, I felt lost. The purpose and direction I'd found in the Marines were gone, replaced by the same void I'd tried to escape. The memories of my family, once dulled by the immediacy of combat, came flooding back, accompanied by the ghost of war. I struggled, floundering in a sea of undiagnosed PTSD, grief, and isolation. I pushed people away, afraid to form attachments only to lose them again. It took years, but eventually, I found my way to a support group for veterans dealing with PTSD. It was there, in a dingy community center, sitting in a circle of folding chairs, that I began to heal. Talking about my experiences, listening to others, I realized I wasn't alone in my pain. Slowly, I started to open up, to build connections, to find joy in life again. It wasn't easy, and there were setbacks, but each step forward was a victory. I went back to school, finished my degree, and found a job that I love. I volunteer with veteran support organizations, sharing my story and listening to others. It's not the life I imagined for myself, but it's a good life, a life my family would be proud of. To anyone struggling, whether with grief, PTSD, or any other challenge, know this: you are not alone. It might not get easier, but it does get better. Find your support system, whether it's friends, family, or a group of strangers in a community center. Talk about your pain, share your story, and listen to others. In the sharing, we find strength, and in the listening, we find healing. Update 1. Continuing from where we left off, my journey took another unexpected turn. Despite my best efforts to reintegrate and build a life worth living, the ground beneath me crumbled. It started with small setbacks, a job loss, a failed relationship, but each felt magnified by the weight of my past. Before I knew it, I was spiraling, unable to find a foothold to stop the descent. 3 years after coming home, I found myself without a home. The streets became my refuge and my prison. I wandered through the city, invisible to the bustling life around me, a ghost haunting the edges of society. The skills that had kept me alive in combat zones were now employed in a battle of a different kind, survival in the urban wilderness. During this time, I met my closest friend, not a person, but a dog. I found him on a particularly cold night, shivering in an alley, his eyes reflecting the same loneliness and despair I felt. I named him Ranger, a nod to my military past. Ranger didn't care that I was homeless or broken. He offered his companionship unconditionally. Together, we navigated the streets, two lost souls finding solace in each other's presence. Ranger became my reason to push through, to fight for something again. I'd share whatever food I could find with him, and in return, he gave me warmth and a reason to smile. People seem to open up more when you have a dog. Ranger broke down barriers between me and the world. Through him, I connected with others, sometimes receiving a kind word, other times a meal or a small job. Our bond reminded me that I still had the capacity to care, to love. Ranger's loyalty and resilience inspired me. If he could keep wagging his tail despite everything, then maybe I could find the strength to stand up once more. It was during this period, with Ranger by my side, that I stumbled upon a turning point. A volunteer from a local outreach program noticed us. She saw beyond the surface, recognizing the remnants of the person I used to be. With her help, and Ranger's unwavering support, I started the long journey back from the brink. This part of my life was painful, but it was also a period of profound personal growth. Living on the streets taught me about humility, resilience, and the kindness of strangers. It showed me the depth of my own strength and the value of a companion who asks for nothing but gives everything. Eventually, with assistance from various veterans aid organizations and the support of a few kind-hearted individuals, I found my way into a stable living situation. I received the help I needed to address my mental health, to find employment, and to start contributing to society again. Ranger was with me every step of the way, a constant reminder of where I'd been and how far I'd come. Together, we moved into a small apartment, a palace compared to the streets we'd known. I found work that allowed me to use my skills and experiences to help others facing similar struggles. In helping others, I found a new purpose and a path to redemption. My journey from loss and combat, through the darkness of grief and homelessness, to a place of healing and purpose, has been long and fraught with challenges. But it's also been a journey of discovery, of finding humanity in the unlikeliest of places, and learning the true meaning of strength and resilience. Ranger saved me in more ways than one. He was more than a pet. He was my guardian angel, my battle buddy in the fight for a better life. My story is a testament to the power of friendship, the kindness of strangers, and the indomitable spirit of survival. It's a reminder that no matter how far we fall, with a little help and a lot of heart, we can rise again. Update 2. The final chapter of my journey from the depths of despair to a life filled with hope began with the outreach volunteer who saw potential in me despite my circumstances. Her organization provided resources for veterans struggling to adapt to civilian life, including access to mental health services, job training programs, and housing assistance. It was through their support that the pieces of my life slowly began to fit back together. Securing a job was the first significant step towards reclaiming my independence. I started working at a nonprofit dedicated to helping veterans facing homelessness and mental health issues. My experiences, once sources of pain and shame, became tools to connect with and assist others. It was challenging work, emotionally taxing, but incredibly rewarding. Each person I helped served as a reminder of how far I'd come, and each success story added to the foundation of my new life. The job brought stability, and with a steady income, I began to dream of a permanent home for Ranger and me. The dream turned into reality when I qualified for a housing program for veterans. The day I received the keys to a small but cozy house was one of the proudest moments of my life. I remember opening the door for the first time, Ranger bounding ahead, exploring each room with an excitement that mirrored my own. It was more than a building. It was a symbol of hope, a tangible result of the journey I had embarked upon. Life now is vastly different from the darkest days on the streets. Ranger and I live a great life, filled with simple joys and the comfort of routine. Our home is a haven, a place where we've hosted friends, where laughter fills the rooms, and where the shadows of the past have been replaced by light. I've dedicated myself to giving back, to being a beacon for those who are where I once was. My work at the nonprofit continues, and I've also become involved in advocacy efforts to improve veteran services on a larger scale. It's my way of paying forward the kindness and support I received when I needed it most. Ranger, ever my faithful companion, is enjoying his well-deserved retirement. He spends his days lounging in sunny spots around the house, going for walks in the neighborhood, and being spoiled by everyone who knows him. We've grown older and wiser together, and I like to think we've both mellowed out, content with the peace we've found. Looking back, it's hard to believe how far we've come. From the depths of despair on the streets to a life filled with purpose and love, our journey has been a testament to the power of resilience, the importance of community, and the unbreakable bond between a man and his dog. Ranger saved me in more ways than I could have imagined, and I hope that in giving him a home, I've repaid him in some small way. Our story is a reminder that no matter how lost one may feel, there is always a path to a better life. It requires courage, support, and the willingness to accept help, but it is always possible. Ranger and I are living proof of that, enjoying each day with gratitude for the journey that brought us here and the future we're building together.